So I've been playing Escape from Tarkov for about 2 weeks now, and I have a couple of things I wanted to say. Now, obviously, my opinion does not weigh as much as someone like Landmarks would, or Jesse Kazams would, or Veritas, or some of these like really good players who've been playing for a long time. I obviously don't have as much experience as them, but I've been playing about 2 weeks. I've gotten to the flea market basically entirely by myself, with a little help from some people that already play the game. I've got I would say that I'm an above average player at this point. I win a large majority of my fights. I know how to play all the maps. I know how to get around on all the maps. And I would say, in general, I am performing above average. However, that doesn't make my opinion correct just because I'm saying it. So, bear in mind that I am a new player, and my understanding of the game is not as good as some others. The first thing I want to talk about, and I think the thing that kind of annoyed me the most about Tarkov, was the PvP. Now, not the PvP in general. I think it's fine for the most part, barring a couple of issues which include like armor and the way armor behaves, and I think it's a little weird sometimes, but in general, I think it's passable, right? However, the main problem that I've found with PvP so far is that it just kind of seems pointless to me anyway. Like, a lot of the times, I will put on my gear, I will weigh a ton, but it is what it is. I'll have spent like a good 700,000 rubles on my kit, including my armor, my helmet, my gun, my ammo, everything like that. And I'll get into a fight, and let's say I kill one person, right? I get in a 1v1, I kill him, and he's just got some like generic mid-tier gear that I might want to use, but it's worse than everything I've got, so I'm probably going to sell it. So I pick it up. I now weigh a ton, and I can't really move around all that much because I'm wearing all of this guy's armor, obviously, and I've got his gun. And if I do manage to haul that to the extract and get out, I'm vendoring it for like a tenth of the price that it costs to build. So it just kind of like, it's one of those things where if I kill a player, my reward is I have to grab it and then hobble to extract with no stamina because, you know, my skills aren't high enough to be able to carry stuff out yet. So I hobble to the extract with no stamina, I extract, and then I go, none of this stuff is good enough to justify using it, so I'm gonna sell it. And then when I sell it for a tenth of its value. So I'm selling all of his gear for like 100,000 rubles, when I could have just left his gear instead and picked up a couple of nuts and bolts, maybe like a pack of cigarettes and like a WD-40 and a pack of screws, and then that's it. I've made all of my money back that I would have gotten from that guy's kit, but I've gotten it from 5 items instead that I can sell on Flea near instantly that weigh basically nothing, which is really weird to me that that's how it works. Like, the player gear is so heavy, but it's worth nothing. But the barter items and the hideout items and stuff like that you need to craft things or upgrade your hideout costs a ton, which makes sense, obviously. Loads of people want to upgrade their hideout, loads of people want to barter, things like that. So those barter items are going to be more expensive. But I think it's weird that I can pick up 3 bolts, and that's equivalent to that guy's entire kit. Like, all of his gear on him is worth 3 bolts, and it's like, it feels kind of lame sometimes to want to kill people, but no, there's no reward for doing so, right? Like, I have genuinely no reason to actually kill a player and use his gear, because if I do, then I either put myself at a disadvantage by using his lower level gear, or I make no money from selling it. That's the first problem. The second problem is the audio, and these two things combined generate a playstyle that I really dislike, but I think is okay for the game generally. I just don't really like doing it all that much, is the ratting style. I will get into ratting in a second, but I want to talk about the audio first. The audio in this game is really weird. It's not like Counter-Strike audio, where if you hear a noise, regardless of how many walls or things are in the way, that you will hear exactly where someone is moving, no matter what, as long as you're in the kind of zone where you could hear their noise, right? That's how Counter-Strike audio works. And it's not like Rainbow Six Siege audio, where audio has to physically travel through openings and holes in walls, doorways, things like that, and it can make the sound appear like it's coming from somewhere else, because that's where the audio is coming from, because that's the path of least resistance for that sound to get to you, right? It doesn't work like that either. It just kind of feels random sometimes. Like, I've had a lot of moments where people are walking 5 feet beside me, and I don't hear anything at all. And I've had moments where people are 30, 40, 50 meters away, where they sound like they're sprinting next to me. And I'm looking around for this guy, and I can't find him anywhere. And then I look, like, over the hill, and I see, like, a tiny speck running across. I'm like, that's the guy making all the sound I'm hearing. And it's really weird. Like, if it was consistently dog shit or consistently weird, then it would be kind of fine. But it's the inconsistency that I find really strange. If I'm on, like, say, the bottom floor, and someone's above me, and they're running around, I'll hear them a little bit. Like, it'll be a little confusing on where they are, but I'll hear them. If I'm on the top floor, and someone's below a floor, I won't hear them at all, which is weird. Sometimes I'll be at the top of a staircase, and they'll be sprinting up the staircase, and I won't hear them until they're until I can see them, which is another thing that's really weird. But that's just the game, I suppose. I guess they're fixing the audio every patch, at least they say they are, I think. So I guess it kind of makes sense the audio isn't amazing, but at the same time, it feels really weird that it would be this bad in general, because, they've had like a decade to fix it, and it's still terrible. I don't really know. Either way, the audio is horrible, and there's no value for killing people. So, I think this creates a ratting playstyle, where no one wants to fight each other, because if they do fight each other, they have the chance of dying and losing their gear, which is like sometimes upwards of 700,000, 800,000, 1 million rubles. Obviously, it depends on the stuff you're bringing. If you're a Mosin man, it's dirt cheap. If you're a Meta M4 man, you're millions of rubles, right? Either way, somewhere in between there is like the average player's kit, okay? If you take a fight, the problem is, you are standing to lose your entire kit of 800,000 rubles, but you're standing to gain that guy's kit of 800,000 rubles. Except, if his kit is slightly worse than yours, then you would vendor it anyway. And if you're vendoring it, then you make no money from his kit anyway, which means fighting him is pointless. The only reason you should ever fight anyone in this game is if you have worse gear than them. If you have better gear than someone, fighting them is pointless, because you're going to spend more money worth of ammo killing some of these players than you will gain from their kits in some cases, depending on the ammo you're using. So that's why there's a lot of people running around with Kedders, like I do on Factory, or Mosins, because there's really simply just no reason to bring that higher level gear in a lot of cases, because you're going to get one-tapped a lot of the time anyway, or you're going to get leg-meted anyway. And if you manage to kill that player, they lose nothing, because their kit is so bad they're going to get it back from insurance, but they stand to gain all of your stuff, which is really, really good, which forces players into this playstyle of bringing terrible gear and sitting still, because that gives them the biggest advantage, winning a fight of a player who has a lot of gear, but they also stand to basically lose nothing. At the same time, the thing they're bringing are very effective at killing people, but they're dirt cheap. Like the Mosin, where you can one-tap basically everything in the game, as long as you're shooting them in the head, and then it's fine. Or you can just Kedder someone in the legs, and if you've got good ammo, you're killing them in half a second anyway, so it doesn't even matter. What's the point of bringing the really good M4, the really good ammo, the really, really good armor? It's pointless, because you're going to get one-tapped by a Mosin, or you're going to get leg-meted by a Kedder. And I don't necessarily think these are bad things for the game. I think there should be an option where you're kind of glass cannoning. I think that's generally okay for the most part. My issues start to come up when that playstyle isn't really just considered like a playstyle, but it's considered the meta. Like the most effective thing you can really do with your shit gear is to sit completely still and wait for someone to walk past you for you to kill them and take their stuff, which is fine. But when that's the main playstyle of the game is very stale. Like, I had a fight yesterday where I was on a team of 2 other players, Adam and and we were against another 3-man on customs dorms. We were against a 3-man. The fight was literally me standing still in a room, Adam standing still in a room, Morzik standing still outside, 2 players standing completely still in the dorms, and a player standing still outside. The player standing still outside killed my teammate Morzik, and then continued to stand still. The 2 players in dorms, it was literally a fight of 6 players standing completely AFK for several minutes until me and Adam got bored and decided to push them. At which point, Adam died, I killed the people who killed him, and then his teammate who was standing still during the fight shot me in the back, because there's no way I could have known that he was there, because he was standing still the whole time. And I mean, while he was fighting Adam, his teammate was actively fighting someone, and he still was too scared to move. He stood completely still during the entire fight. So when I repushed his teammate who was medding and killed him, he just shot me in the back, and I couldn't do anything, and I died, because he gave no info, because he was stood still the whole time. And unfortunately, that's just the most effective way to play the game right now, due to several reasons. The fact that PvP is pointless, the audio is terrible, there's a lot of desync happening, as well as like a lot of other issues in general, like the shitty recoil system, or the muzzle flip, things like that as well that contribute to it as well, because fighting people at range can feel really, really ass sometimes when you either get completely laser beamed or you try and shoot someone and your muzzle flip goes all over the place and your initial burst isn't enough to kill them, and so once you do finally start getting that laser beam recoil, they've already made it to cover, which is fine. I think the recoil system is terrible, but in general, there's a lot of things with it that make it so the game is not very fun, and a lot of those things incentivize people to rat, and I don't necessarily believe ratting's a bad thing. I think if you want to rat, you can rat. It's a genuine playstyle. If it makes you a winner and you get more kills and you extract more and you get more quests done or whatever, however you want to play the game, then that's fine. But I also think that that shouldn't be the meta, because that makes it really boring. So, to go over everything that I think is problematic with the game, I think the audio is horrible. You can hear people from way too far. The inconsistencies in audio make it really, really difficult to tell where people are, even if you do hear them. The armor system in the game feels pointless sometimes, because you're going to get one-tapped by a Mosin in the face anyway, or you're going to get shot in the legs by a Kedar, so bringing big armor sometimes feels pointless. Bringing good gear feels pointless as well, because like I said, you're going to get shot in the face by a Mosin or Keddard in the legs, and that comes from someone who does that all the time. I think half of my runs I have a Mosin or a Keddar, and I'm killing 2 or 3 PMCs a raid, and getting all of their gear, and just putting it in my stash and taking out another Keddar, because it's more effective than their guns. So, there's that. And then, of course, there's the other issues that I mentioned, where all of this combining together gives just a horrible playstyle for the game. And do I think that I could fix it? Probably not. I don't think I'm good enough at the game. I don't think I have enough experience at the game to be able to fix those issues. However, can I see them as problems? Absolutely. I don't think either of these things are healthy for the game, and I'm not sure anyone does either. Or the meta being ratting feels kind of lame. Anyway, that was my experience playing Tarkov for a little bit, and I love this game. I really do love it, but it definitely has its problems. Goodbye. Mwah.